Hello, welcome to LLG's Random But Real. My name is Lisa L. Gilliam, and I am the host of this podcast, where we have conversations about any and all things random with an entree, not a side dish, of mental health advocacy. I use my performance, communication, and literary art skills to bring awareness about mental health and other topics. Therefore, whether I am singing, speaking, or writing, it is my desire that my words will be melodic, just like music, to your ears. Please note, the comments expressed in this podcast are those of mine and or the guests. They are not intended to be used for professional guidance. Please seek a licensed professional if you are in need of care or therapy, experiencing trauma, or are in danger. And if in danger, please call 911. Thank you in advance for listening to LLG's Random But Real. I hope you enjoy this podcast.
All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are the Stigma Breakers Collective. My name is Ashley Lockley, and I have Mastering My Matters. Everyone's going to introduce themselves, but we just want to take the time to thank you for joining us on today, which is World Suicide Prevention Day. We felt it was really important to do something on World Suicide Prevention Day, and have a venue where we can talk candidly about suicide, suicidal ideation, and honestly, some things that can help as far as suicide prevention. Um, I think we're going to start off by introducing ourselves, right? So, oh yeah. So, like I said, I'm Ashley Lockley with Mastering My Matters, and the reason why this is important to me is because I've lived with chronic suicidality for the past 20 plus years of my life. I am a suicide attempt survivor, and my life's mission is to ensure that people have good mental health and mental wellness. So I think I'll pass it to Lisa.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lisa L. Gilliam, otherwise known as One Singing Lady, and half of the co-author of 21 Days. You'll meet my co-author in a second. Suicide prevention is super important to me. Although I did not attempt, I definitely dealt with suicidal ideation at different times in my life, depression, anxiety. And so having been a counselor and also a minister, at one point, we might get into that here. I've been on both sides. And so I know what it's like to, not want to necessarily live because of the pressures of the world, the trauma that I've experienced, but I also have been able to help other people who have gone through or experienced some of the same things. And so any opportunity that I have to be able to educate other people and uplift and encourage, then that's what I want to do. So I'm gonna pass it on to Tracy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy Worley. I am the other half of the book 21 Days. I am here in the capacity of friend and advocate for those who have challenges with mental health. I've had challenges with family members, friends who have battled with depression and suicidal ideation. So I am here on behalf of them and to share information.
Hello, everyone. My name is Danya Parker. I'm the president and founder of the Rock for Life Foundation. Suicide is hard for me because I lost my youngest brother to suicide. So bringing awareness and advocating for those that feel that they're lost and have no help, support, or anything, that's my goal. If I can reach one person, I did my job. So that's why it means a lot to me, especially dealing with my own depression as well, especially after he passed away. So that's why I'm here.
Okay. So you want to share some statistics?
Yes. Just a few statistics, and then we're going to get into the nitty gritty. So suicide is the 10th leading cause in America between the ages of 18 and 25. But suicide has no age, social, or economic status. There's children out here that are being bullied, that are taking their lives as young as 7 and 8 years old. So there is no social economic standards for it. There's also suicide warning signs. These are a few warning signs. Talking about wanting to die or to kill oneself. Looking for a way to kill oneself, such as searching online, buying a gun. Talking about feeling hopeless or having no reason to live. Talking about feeling trapped or in unbearable pain. Talking about being a burden to others. Increasing the use of alcohol and drugs. Acting anxious, and agitated, behaving recklessly. Sleeping too little or too less. Withdrawing or feeling isolated. Showing rage or talking about seeking revenge, displaying extreme mood swings. And these talks like this does not give the person the idea of taking their life. 9 times out of 10, the idea is already there. These are ways that you can be active in it and preventing it. And suicide can be prevented. The suicide hotline number is 988, or you can text hello to 741-741. And as a family, friends, loved ones, there's 5 actions of helping someone that's in emotional pain. Acts. Are you thinking about killing yourself? Again, that's a myth. It's not going to put that idea in that person's mind because it's already there. 2, keep them safe. Reduce access to lethal items or places. 3, the most important thing to me is be there. Listen carefully and acknowledge their feelings. 4, help them connect. Call or text the suicide hotline at 988. stay connected, follow up, stay in touch after the crisis. But a lot of times, people that are suffering, they just really want someone to listen. A lot of times we need to talk it out. So be that listening ear. Don't try to tell them XYZ, just listen. A lot of times that's mainly, we need someone to listen to us.
Absolutely. We agree. Can I just expound on that just quickly? Like the symptoms, a lot of the symptoms I've had personally, I notice a lot of people sleep when they're in a state of depression or just like life is overwhelming for them. And so your people, and if it's too little or too less. I also deal with insomnia, and so it's a strange parallel. So sometimes I had to actually question myself: is this the insomnia, or is this just because I'm overwhelmed and I'm stressed and the trauma? The giving away one is a lot. I've seen a lot of younger people do that, but like older people can do it too. It's a telltale sign, and so I guess one of the reasons why I think things like this are so important is that we're actually educating you so that you're aware when someone in your family or friend or your circle acts differently. Please pay attention. You watching now can actually save a life. Exactly. And so, the first one that Diane talked about is ask them, don't say, are you trying to hurt yourself? Ask them, do you want to kill yourself? Are you thinking about killing yourself? Do you want to die? Because they'll tell you no if you say, I'm just trying to hurt myself. But when you ask specific words, that's when you'll get the answers. And if that is the response, then, yes, 988. But if they have a plan, ask if they have a plan, then 911. There's emergency petitions. There are people that are licensed. I used to be a part of PG Mobile Crisis. They have a DC Mobile Crisis. We just want to make sure people get help because I want you to still be here and I want your loved ones to still be here. But you have to be willing to have conversations. And sometimes, who knows, we might end up crying before the end of the podcast because it's touched us all in different ways. And I think that that's okay. I think that that's important to be vulnerable. And, we talked about like what we wanted to do. And I have to thank Ashley because she was on us, because we said we were going to do something. We didn't do anything last year. And relationships are super, super, super important. Relationships matter. And, not just romantic relationships, but also familial relationships, friendships, pretty much all those ships, even your situationships that we know we really shouldn't be in, they actually matter. And sometimes those trip us up more than right. We wrote the book for a reason. It's not just like promotion, but those ships are very interesting. And when you've had a connection, I'm gonna actually because Ashley said it so eloquently, but connection is so important. And then I'm gonna piggyback on her explanation of community and connection in her own words.
I think one of the things that is probably talked about not enough is the fact that quality, consistent relationships play such a big part in suicide prevention. And as I said before, I'm a survivor of a couple of suicide attempts. And the one thing that for me that has really kept me in the game was my village. And I'm so very grateful for them. But now we're seeing it come out in the actual research that community is a protective factor, right? Just like religion is a protective factor, just like, having access to resources is a protective factor. And so being as though these are protective factors, meaning that they don't necessarily stop someone from wanting to die by suicide, or doesn't necessarily stop someone from even attempting suicide. People who have these things, they're just less likely to attempt and to even complete suicide. And so, little small pen there, because language matters, and you know what I'm gonna say. We don't say committed suicide anymore. Okay. Notice I'm trying to be very intentional with my language, because as I've been taught, I've, all my life I've heard committed suicide. Mm-hmm. And so it takes, even for us to talk about it a lot, it takes a lot of rewiring, reframing. So we say died by suicide, or even someone completed a suicide. because the word committed is usually has a negative connotation when you say someone committed a crime, right? And so we don't want people to look at suicide in a way that is even more stigmatizing. We're trying to normalize, not necessarily normalize suicide, but normalize the fact that people are dealing with mental illness and suicidal ideation. And so we want our language to reflect that as well. Don't be too hard on yourself if you still do it. Every now and then I'm like, whoops, and I will correct myself, or someone will correct me like, hey. So it's a learning experience, and it's something that we're all in together.
Yeah. So if I did just do that, I apologize, because I know.
No,
okay. I was like, I've been trying to say die by suicide. But
I
it's
was
important.
Way too hard.
I'm glad you said it, because I'll correct myself. And I think that's part of it, actually being open and vulnerable and willing to change. I was having a conversation with someone. I'll just say someone, and the person, I was explaining to them how like one word change could change everything. Like it could trigger. He's like, I don't want to trigger you, but I'm like, but you are, because you're not. If you're saying, it didn't matter to me until such and such, a relative had died by suicide, and I'm like, I understand that. One of the pet peeves of mine about mental health advocacy is that people wait until it's too late to do things like this. So for you all that are here, thank you. If we haven't thanked you again, thank you again.
Yes.
And we hope that you take the information that we're sharing and share it with other people. It's, about having conversations. And so like, I'm grateful. I met Ashley because of a mutual friend page, because both of us were doing mental health advocacy. And there was Nicole, right? You came to I'm not talking about to celebrate life. Travail. That's what I'm saying. They came to celebrate life.
Yes.
And that's how I met Danya. And then Tracy and I went to high school together, but it was because of conversations that we had. We realized that there was some likenesses and some similarities. And so this topic is not easy. No. It never has been. And relationships are not easy either. But I'm thankful to these ladies, because they have definitely listened to me over and over and over again, talk about some stuff that I've experienced. And that's why I thought, maybe this would be a good topic to talk about this year. What do y'all think?
Absolutely. I say that the village is important. We mentioned the village, and I always talk about my tribe, and I always say I have an awesome tribe. And just so grateful to those of you who have come out today. I know there's a lot of things that we're competing with in the NFL today, and all kinds of other things, and you could have been many other places, but that's part of the family, and that's part of being family and supporting and being part of that village. So in that vein, when we talk about relationships and we talk about familial relationships, one of the things that I was thinking about earlier is that familial relationships, however, be it if they were challenged or if they were strong, has a lot to do with how we start to move and develop into healthy or unhealthy relationships with those romantic partner relationships, as we'll talk about a little bit later. So I was thinking about that earlier, and I said, all relationships, all of them matter, because they affect us in one way or the other.
Exactly. And that's like what Dylan, Lisa, she's the outspoken one. I always say that. Lisa can tell when I'm having a moment. Okay, I'm going to give you a day. I'm going to give you 2 days. Then after that, we're going to straighten this out. And we go through that. And I appreciate that, because I feel comfortable actually coming to Lisa and saying certain things. So you have to get that village, those people that are behind you. And I didn't know I had my core sisters. I had my group. But then it's like, I'm that type of person that I feel like I'm still bothering you. I'm dealing with my own, but I know you're dealing with this. So Lisa has gotten me to the point, you got to stop doing that, because no one knows that you're hurting if you don't speak up. So I'm an advocate, but sometimes I don't advocate for myself. And that was one of my biggest things in dealing with Lisa. She's going to push you. And I appreciate that more. No, you're good. So you're good. But I appreciate that, because she sees that. And I have my cousin the same way. And I recently had a moment, and I scared the crap out of my family and friends, because it was not my norm. It was something I have never done, never said, but I wasn't thinking that way as they would have thought. So I was just in my moment at that time, and I didn't think about how it affected them afterwards. So, and it goes back to losing my youngest brother. So doing this, I don't want, everybody's going to deal with death at some point in time in your life. But losing a family member to suicide is a hole that you would never feel, because you have a family member that smiles, does this and does that, and walks in the room, brightens up the room, but they're hurting inside it, and you don't know that until they're gone. So when I made my statement with my family, I didn't think about that aspect, because then afterwards, okay, now I understand, because this is how I felt after my brother left. You left me here to try to figure this out, and it hurts. So my fight is speak up. It's okay. I'd rather have you yell at me, fuss at me, than not to have you at the dinner table, Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthdays, not to have you there because you were in so much pain and you felt that you had no one to go to. So I appreciate Lisa for that. Sometimes she gets on my nerves, and she knows this. And sometimes I get on her nerves, and I know it. So, but it's there. I know I can get on her nerves. She knows she can get on my nerves. And that's what you need, and it's welcome. So
right, and we're still friends after that too.
Like, but
yeah, my moments, but we're still friends.
It's the thing. It helps you grow. It takes you out of that place. It makes you look at friendships, relationships totally different. Mm-hmm. Some things you don't want to hear. Some things you don't want to talk about, but you have to in order to heal through all of that. So you're not in that place where, oh, I don't want to, no longer want to be here. And true to fact, one part of my brother's death, I believe it was a relationship. Mm-hmm. And so, and I don't believe, I know, so, because I have this feeling like if I was to ever, God, please forgive me, if I ever saw this woman, it's going to be a problem between her and I, because I felt you hurt my brother. Mm-hmm. So that relationship pain, whether it's significant other, it can be the pain from a parent. I'm watching all these different TV shows where kids are abandoned and stuff like that. That still affects them as they grow up, because then they don't have you there. You abandon them, so they don't know how to act. They don't know how to react. They don't know how to trust. So it plays a factor in so many different things. And I'm glad we're doing this topic.
Yeah, definitely. It was something you said. So I recently had a situation with a friend, and I do talk a lot. Those who know me knows I do. However, it's always with a purpose. I'm very intentional about what I'm saying, and I can't help it. I was a counselor for 20 years, so I've been trained to ask the questions that I need to ask to gather the information that I need to gather. And although I'm not doing anymore, I was a good counselor. Like I feel like I still am, but my own stuff has prohibited me from doing it. So if I share the deepest parts of me with someone, and then you turn around on me and say, you're too heavy, you're too deep, I just don't want to deal, it feels like abandonment and rejection to me, which is a trigger for me. And it allows me, I don't blame you though. I go internal. And then my question is like, why am I here? If I can't, all I want to do is help people, encourage them, and being a singer and a writer and a poet, it like all those things are tools to bring people to a hopefully a better place. But then when I can't even do that in my own personal life, it hurts. Like I'm a restorative practice, a practitioner, and restorative practices focus on dignity, mutual concern, and respect. And we talk about relationships mattering. We talk about community. And so they have this thing called circles. You all may have even seen in some movies where indigenous peoples are around a fire. It's similar to that. But here, of course, we don't have fire when we're doing it in schools, but we have a talking piece and we have centerpiece. And so it's still a similar practice. I encourage you all to look up restorative practices, restorative justice, or restorative approaches, which is a term we use in the school system. But once you realize that if I have a relationship with you and we have an issue, the chances are I will come to you or you'll come to me and we'll be able to resolve that conflict far better or more intently than I would someone that I don't have a relationship with. And that's why the relationships matter. And even when I was thinking about this, I have familial stuff, friendships. The book came out because of the hurt of all of the relationships. But like Tracy said, it started when I was younger. So those familial relationships, if they're not where they need to be, funny enough, my dad's birthday would have been yesterday. He's been dead since my first the week before my last year in high school. I graduated in 91, so 1990 is when he died. And it still affects me like in a different way to this day, that he's not going to be here whenever I walk down the aisle, because I'm claiming it. It's going to happen one day. And then, even though I'm 50, but it's going to happen. Okay. So, you know, those little things where your family can't be there, or that I can't talk to my mom anymore. Next month will be six years since she died. And, you know, that where you're like, oh my gosh, like, what happened to my family? Like, I feel like she's probably turned over her grave right now. Not happy about some of this stuff. But it was the like romantic relationships that really messed me up. Where I feel like I'm still healing. And I don't want anybody to have to go through this stuff. Waste the time. I wasted so much time, y'all, dealing with people that didn't have any. Don't even ask me how you doing. How's the book doing? Like, I've really started thinking about this, even with the guy that I like. I don't think one time asked me, you know, just, well, how's the singing going? Then I have other people who I'm not interested in asking me those questions. So it's made me kind of check myself. And, you know, the narrative that we tell ourselves, you know, that, oh, they're busy, or that's why I said, no, nobody's too busy. If you want to do something, you'll do it. And I'm tired of making excuses for other people, because you're grown too, just like me. It was a reason why I was saying that, but of course, y'all know, I forgot. I'll come back to it. But yeah,
I do want to kind of really quickly. I think what you and Tracy were alluding to is what's called in psychology attachment theory. That the relationships that you have with your base, your parents, your family, is a great predictor of how you end up having and operating in your relationships, your social relationships, your friendships, but most importantly, your romantic relationships, honestly. And so this really does start at the beginning. And that's exactly what if you don't have a secure attachment with your parents, that really sets the stage for how you look at the world, because the way it's designed to be is that you're supposed to be able to look at your parents as secure bases, where you know that your world is safe and secure, and you can trust that they have your best interest at heart. And so when there's a crack in that, then there are all different types of attachments. There's avoidant attachment, there's anxious attachment. And it doesn't mean that you're necessarily doomed to having issues, but the chances of you having issues when it comes to romantic relationships is really high. And so, you know, there is science that backs up what we're talking about here. And it's just very important that we kind of recognize that, okay, maybe you're grown and you say, okay, it's too late for me with my parents, but if you have children, recognizing that you play such a crucial role in how your children will end up looking at the world and interacting in the world.
And I remember, can I just say before I forget? So I don't mind they know I'll tell you, after my mom died, I had PTSD, so I have memory process and memory loss and memory retention. So I'll forget things. But see, it comes back. It is getting better, believe it or not. But the thing about it is, I was thinking, like, even today, as we were approaching the day, and I was just like, if we were healthier before we got into the relationships, then maybe our choices about who we got into the relationships with would be better, and we wouldn't get to the point where we would feel like, I need to end this relationship, because we made wiser choices initially. A lot of times the symptoms are there, the signs are there, the red flags are there, but we avoid them. And then we wonder how we got to the place where we're just like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't feel like I have anything. But maybe if our choices were better in the first place, and that's something I have to check myself on, then I wouldn't have gotten to the point. I don't know that I had a really bad breakup, and I say that because I don't know if you want to say it was a situationship or relationship, whatever, but this was in the mid 2000s, and that person hurt me tremendously. And I remember just going into the room and opening the Bible, because nobody else was going to help me except for Jesus. And I was bawling, like crying profusely, and I don't know where it landed, and I read the scripture. And it's so funny to me that the person that consoled me is the person that I'm estranged from now. And so they know who I'm talking about. And how life kind of the circle of life, that's why I probably cry the Lion King every time I watch it. But you just never know how pivotal people, are in your life. And that situation repeated itself, the cycle of getting in something and getting out of something. But that started for me probably as a young person. And here I am 50 trying to make better relationships. And, if you don't want to be here in my life, I don't want you here. And I'm okay with I'm becoming okay with that. It's not important for me to hold on to you if this is not what you want. And you don't want to hear about, the trauma I've been through. Okay, that's fine. You're just not my friend, because a real friend is going to be there. A real relation. It takes a lot to deal with someone that's been through the trauma that I've been through. And I'm an open book, so sexual abuse, molestation, date rape, and still want to love me in spite of all of that. That's what I want too, because I'm sure you come in with baggage as well. You might not be aware of it, but your baggage is there too. Okay. Thank you for letting me say that, Diane, because I would have forgotten.
She's speaking about the PTSD, the brain thing. I'm the same way, so I forget things. But I'm 56, and I was in a situationship, but it was funny. The person that I was in this with, he brought up he has 3 daughters, and he was explaining the relationship a daughter has with their father means a lot. We always talk about the relationship that a boy should have with the father. It's the exact same thing with a daughter with their father. 56, nothing against my dad. The conversation I needed to have with my dad or with a father figure, my dad couldn't handle it. So I had it with my cousin. He didn't look at me as he's a minister. He didn't look at me in that minister role. He spoke to me as his daughter. So when I had the conversation with my friend again about what he was saying about his daughters, I said at 56, it makes sense because I still need that as well. We still need it to grow up, and a lot of it. It all begins when you're growing up. Everything affects you, everything. So parents, and I keep telling people, suicide does not have an age. Doesn't care what grade you in, what house you drive. What house you drive, what house you live in, the car you drive. I'm on the road.
They might.
Right now,
the real thing.
Maybe
you might have a trailer.
Maybe the Jetsons. We almost there.
Right. Absolutely.
But it's still, you still need to focus on your kids. Pay attention. I hear a lot of parents say, "Oh, they just need some attention." Well, give it to them. If they need attention, stop letting the TV, these electronics and stuff, grow up with them. Pay attention to your kids. Have the conversation. And 7 years old, died by suicide, being bullied, afraid to speak to anyone. Mm-hmm. And it's coming out so much. Yes. And it really hurts when people send me, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? These kids are in elementary school, in junior high. I did a research with one of their charter schools. They were in the 7th grade. It was 15 kids. There's one question on there, and this one sticks to me. If you or a friend of yours were hurting, would you go to an adult? 15 kids in there, 10 of them said no. The other three said they don't know. The other 2 said yes. That's sad in itself. And just by reading their body language, the way they were acting in class, they need that attention. They need that help. And it takes a village, the parents, the teachers, whatever. But parents, it starts with you at home. You know your child better than anybody. Whether you want to pay attention to it or not, pay attention. Stop, women, I'm going to say this, I'm going to leave it here. Stop chasing after that man to fill that void to make that child father or whatever. Pay attention to your kids first. Make sure they're all right. Make sure they're healthy. And it is nothing wrong with going to therapy at all. So y'all need to get that out of your mind. I know most therapists have therapists. So it is nothing wrong with going to therapy. I love it. Wish I had stuck with it when I started, but I'm back on it. But I'm going to just go back to it. Pay attention to the youth. They are struggling. They are hurting. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to fit in. I have kids that I know that are 10 that are wearing eyelashes because mama's trying to make them grow up too fast, but we're not going to go there. So pay attention to your kids, fathers, mothers, everybody. Just pay attention to the kids because it starts there. You start that structure. You show them how they should live, what they should be doing, everything. Just have the conversation. Have you ever thought about it? It's not going to hurt. It's not. It might give them the strength and the courage to actually finally open up to you because you're always probably yelling. So they're afraid to open up to you. So take the time. And we need to go back to this. And I loved it. And I think about it all the time. The old school. My grandfather came home. We all sat at the dinner table. My grandfather asked us how was our day. We had a conversation. We are getting away from that. This person eating in their room, this person here, this person doing that. Go out. Everybody at the dinner table, people on their phone. Instead of communicating, stop it. Just start talking, and you might learn a whole lot of what's going on.
Can we go back to what you said about attention-seeking behavior? Okay. I have a 7-month-old at home, and I'm already being accused of spoiling him.
Lean in.
Y'all come here. All right. All behavior is communication. Say it with me. All behavior is communication. If a child, an adult, is engaging in attention-seeking behavior, they're obviously communicating something. It will behoove you to actually try to get to the bottom of what they're trying to communicate. Children don't just simply want attention. They want connection. They want love. They want your time. They want your space. And granted, like, all of us are busy. Every single one of us, okay? And I'm sure that you all watching, you're busy as well. But one of the things that you sign up for when you bring a child into this world is sharing yourself wholly with this child or children. There is something, I think, especially in the Black community, there's this preoccupation, I'll call it, with not giving too much attention. Let them cry it out. Let them, and I think that there is space for children to be able to figure things out. There's space for children to be able to learn how to self-soothe and things like that. But these things need to be taught, right? And they don't just need to be taught, they need to be modeled. And so chances are, if your child is engaging in negative attention-seeking behaviors, it's coming from you. Either they're not getting something from you or they're seeing it from you. So parent heal thyself. And that's just not for parents. Like, it's for adults in general. Because the other part of it is a lot of us aren't able to give that love, attention, affection to children because we didn't have it ourselves. And so we're having we're having to parent children and try to reparent ourselves. That's hard work. And I'm not saying you're going to do it perfectly, but also recognize, like, you can't, I think your children should not be at the expense of your trauma.
Absolutely. So get help. Go see a therapist.
I agree.
Yeah. It was something that you said with that, we talked about mentioning. So a lot of former clients didn't want to commit suicide, but they were cutters, or some of them would hit their head up against the wall or try to just cause injury to themselves. And unfortunately, if you're playing with fire, you can get burned. You know what I mean? And so there have been some accidental deaths because they were just trying to get rid of the pain. And so if you notice cutting, a lot of times they'll wear long sleeves in the summer or a big coat, or
which is tough because most teenagers
now are wearing hoodies all year round. Right. But if you're my, come here, how you doing? If this is my child, then I should be able to touch my child and I can see if it's stuff, or it might be on their legs, usually places where things are not covered. I'm not saying barge into the bathroom, I'm not saying that, but there are ways that you can see, because if they're doing it where it's easily accessible at the time. So it's probably not going to be, it could be, but most of the time it's around the wrist, or, like somewhere an ankle, places where they can kind of get to wherever they are. So please be aware of that. Puffy coats in the summer, it's too hot. Like it was almost 100 degrees, so start to see that. And it may not even be because they want, or they're having suicidal ideation. It could be other reasons too, but sometimes they are mental health related. So you should, I think, as a parent, know your child. And if you don't, please listen to what they're saying, our parents in the room, and make sure that you are paying attention to the signs and the symptoms that your child is exhibiting. And I think that's super important. I think the worst thing I've heard, I've had family members who've died by suicide, but when you have the information, you did nothing about it. Like now you are equipped with information today you are. So hopefully you use this and you share with somebody else. But a lot of people, like I said before, don't do anything until it happens to them. I don't want that to be anybody in my family. Again, my friends, like when that happened, I didn't know. I really didn't start to get into this until probably like around my 30s. I always wanted to help people, but I didn't start doing Celebrate Life, or, I didn't even know what it was that I was experiencing. I just knew I was sad and I was crying all the time, sleepy all the time. And, and I do still go to therapy. Actually, my therapist is supporting here now, so he can tell you. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
And I just say that, as we often talk about, if I move us to maybe the middle to the end of that spectrum, where we talked about the children and the social media and the things that are hidden, and then some of those things that are hiding in plain sight. I had a loved one last year to have a literal mental health breakdown. First thing in the morning, I get a text saying, I don't want to be here, and I'm afraid I'm going to hurt myself and my mom. And I didn't, in that moment, I'm like, is this real? Are you being dramatic? Because these are the normal things that happen. Or is this person just being dramatic? I know it's a lot, caring for a person that has Alzheimer's, it's a lot. I've lived in the house with that growing up. But at the same time, I said, if this is real, I don't want it on my head that I didn't do anything. And then I picked up the phone, I called, because I said, we're not going to text back and forth. So I said, are you all right with me calling? I think it was the DC crisis. And he said, yes. And so I called, and like within 45 minutes, they had somebody at the house, and he's still receiving services and doing so much better. Just knowing he had the support, that support system. And often as caregivers, people don't pay attention to, the person that's doing the care. We often look at the person that needs the care. And then there are cases where the caregiver's health breaks down, and that they are in need of more physical health, and then mental health services. So making sure that even as a caregiver that you get counseling, get therapy. It's okay to talk through some things sometimes, because relatives don't always understand. And sometimes you need someone else just to listen, listen to you as you try to manage someone else's care, and then often have to manage your own care.
I'm glad that you said something, but also I would say that it's no different. If I walked in and there was a physical emergency there, I'm not going to ask them. I'm going to call. So when it comes to mental health, you really don't have the time to be getting permission, because just like that, the person could decide, that this is it. And you never know. You never want to take
experience
it.
with it.
No, you're good. I know that's good.
You did more than most people.
And I said, I'm glad that you called. I'm just talking about it.
It's a very close relative. So I know this person, and I'm like, are you being, like, I really want, are you being, And I said, we don't have time to
No,
decide
and
whether or
I'm
not
glad that
you're
you
being
thought about
dramatic.
that. I think that that's also part of breaking the stigma, because I want it to be a place where we're not thinking that first, where
Right.
we're automatically
automatically.
thinking, just like we would medical health, we're thinking the same
Immediately
thing
call
about
911
mental
if
health.
something's
Right.
going
If
on.
you can ask the questions, everybody can say, you know, do you want to commit? Well, sorry, do you want to die? Do you what is your plan? Even if you just ask those two questions. Are you trying to kill yourself, or do you want to die? And what's your plan? If they say a plan and they tell you where it is, you know, it's my pills, or I have a gun, or I have a knife, you want to access or find out if they have access to those things. You have pills in your cabinet, you have whatever it is. There a gun in the house? Is there a knife in the house? We have to get to the point where we are that's like the baseline, and that's why this is so important. So you did fine, that's great, and you actually did something where I know some people who wouldn't do anything, and they don't even care. I know you're an empathetic person, I know you care, but the sad reality is a lot of people don't.
Not my problem.
And that's exactly
Not
what I
my
was going to say.
problem. I
I'm
don't want
dealing
any
with
part
my,
of it.
and then
Yeah.
that's the part,
Yeah.
another part with people that are dealing with mental illness. Another thing is, sometimes we don't want to say anything, or they don't want to say anything because you don't want to get that response. Oh, I'm dealing with something too, or this person. Don't say that. That is the worst thing you can say to somebody that's actually reaching out to you. If they even mention anything and then you come back and say, I can't handle that, I'm dealing with my own stuff, this, that, and other. So that pulls them back into that shell. So that defense again. So they feel like they're bothering people. So if I'm not here, I'm not a bother to you. And that's how they're looking at it. If I'm no longer here, you're not bothered. But it's a big bother when you're no longer here. So stop doing that. Stop making that comment. If you can't handle it, say, hey, look, I don't know how to handle that. Let's work. We can call somebody. And everybody can Google everything and this, that, and other. You have Google. There's no excuse. There's none whatsoever. None. Yeah. So please stop doing that. If you can't handle it, and a lot of people, sometimes I don't want to handle it. Right. But it's there. I know I have to do X, Y, Z. And Lisa mentioned it. Sometimes we don't deal with something until it's smacked right out in our face. If it wasn't for my brother's death, I don't know if I would be an advocate. I don't know if I would be doing what I'm doing. I'm a diabetic. I deal with seizures. I'm not an advocate for seizures. I'm not an advocate for diabetes, but I'm a strong advocate for mental illness and suicide prevention. So it's in everybody's family, whether we want to admit it or not. It's someone in your family that is dealing with something, and we got to stop sweeping it up under the rug, because after a while, that rug is going to be so high we can't walk over it anymore. We're going to tumble. So we got to get rid of that stigma. So stop sweeping it under the rug. The thing about going to a therapist, stop that nonsense. And then one thing I can say this. I'm sorry. She said stop the foolishness. I said nonsense. It's a nonsense. Because when my brother, I'm gonna be complete. When my brother passed away, and when I went back to work, someone asked me, how did my brother die? And I told them by suicide. The first thing that person said to me, oh, Black people don't take their lives. I shut down. I stopped mentioning. So then it was almost, I was ashamed to admit that my brother had died by suicide, because growing up, honestly, that's what we heard. White people always took their life. No, it has no color. It cares less about color. And elderly people, their suicide rate is extremely high as well, because they've been so independent. If something happens to them, they feel like they're a burden and they're bothersome to people. I know a lady, she was 91 years old. She jumped out the window at the hospital after she saw her son. She had been an active person. She fell, broke her hip. She was in a hospital. She felt like she was a burden. And after she saw her son, she just wanted to see her son, and she took her life. So it has no age or whatever, color, I don't care. And I'm going to keep saying that. And my thing is, keep going back to your kids. Pay attention.
I think if anything positive came out of it, and I know on certain platforms it's almost taboo to use the word that we've all gone through in the past 3 years that we're still dealing with that virus. But if something good came out of that, I think it became okay to go to therapy or counseling. It became okay because the masses were doing it. Everybody was doing it. That being locked down in that isolation and that feeling alone, it weighed on a lot of people.
So now they have the new one, loneliness. That's coming out, but it's always been there. And just like you said, and people are making it more comfortable now because it's more of the masses and more people are talking about it. But I really have a problem when, everybody is on Facebook when a star or whatever takes their lives. My brother was my VIP, so my family members are important to me. My friends are important to me. So don't just wait to have when a star or someone spotlight takes their life. Pay attention. Just stay focused. That's it. I mean, I get emotional about it, so I said I wasn't gonna cry.
So Ashley, could you talk a bit about suicidal ideation? Like, can you define or talk a little bit? Because I think more people have experienced that than they may not know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So suicidal ideation is actually on I would say it's on a spectrum. I think most things on a spectrum. I think that we, in our quest to try to normalize it, we oversimplify it because it can look different for different people. And it's not even with the same person. It could be heavy and persistent one day, the next day, you're not feeling it. It can come back. It can be triggered by something small. It can be triggered by something big. And then for some people, it's acute, meaning that there's kind of one or a few small things that kind of bring it on. Or there's some people who deal with it chronically, right? It's the same thing as acute illness, chronic illness, right? Chronically, you kind of go through seasons where it's just, you're kind of experiencing, it can go from anywhere from just, I wonder what it's like or what it would be like if I wasn't here.
That's what I was going to ask.
I've had times where my suicidal ideation just looked like imagining my funeral. Like I just sit there and I'm just like, wonder what that's going to be like. Wonder if it's going to come.
Is anybody?
Is anybody
coming?
Yes. That can be a form of suicidal ideation. And it can look like, actually having a plan, actually having means. So you have,
So that's where you talk about from acute to chronic.
Yeah.
Right.
And honestly, there are some people who would say that, chronic is worse than acute or whatever. I don't think it's about what's worse. It really is just about the person, because what you want to make sure of is that the person doesn't have a specific plan. You want to make sure that they don't have access, right, to, or the means, right? So, do you have a gun? Do you have, something that you could use to actually carry out the plan? You want to make sure they don't have access to said means, right? And really getting to the heart of that is more important, or I think a better way to utilize what you're trying to help this person walk through than trying to understand whether it's acute or chronic. And so, excuse me, it can be very specific, like, I shouldn't be here. Suicidal ideation could also encompass actions. And we talked about some of those things. You start giving away things that mean a lot to you. You're not
self-medicating.
You're self-medicating. You're engaging in more impulsive behaviors. I lost my brother in 2019, and I think a lot back to 2019 and just how some of his behaviors became impulsive. I cannot say for sure, but when someone passes unexpectedly, he was 36 years old. You don't expect to bury someone who's 36 years old, right? And so I think back to how impulsive some of his behavior got, and I just wonder, did I miss something? That was, some things that we became privy to post his passing. Like, did I miss something? Right. And it can be very easy because everyone's not going to, like Danya said, everyone's not going to come and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. And I think one of the things that bothers me about how we talk about suicide prevention these days is that the onus is on the person who's dealing with the suicidal ideation.
We're not gonna say nothing.
The burden is on you. Oh, if you're struggling, reach
Say
out.
something, yeah.
I can't even get out of
Right.
my
You try to get the
Right.
put the clothes, like the shower,
Talking
get
about.
in the shower,
I
get
can't do the
dressed.
I didn't brush my teeth
No,
for
not
5
for
days.
me.
You know?
Exactly.
So the onus that we put on people to say, hey, if you're struggling, reach out, sounds good in theory, but why is it incumbent upon the person who's struggling to reach out? And I think that that's where community comes in. Because when you're in true community with people, one, you should be able to see more clearly, perhaps, when there's something off about that person, when they are, people we're creatures of habit. Generally speaking, we're going to operate in some of the same ways. Like, I'm going to use Lisa. We're picking on Lisa today. I mean, but it's a good thing, right?
Okay.
So Lisa knows if I get a little quiet, I'm probably overwhelmed. Okay. And she'll ask me, how am I doing? Okay.
And feeling, because doing and feeling are two
Exactly.
different things. And thinking, yeah,
See how
sorry.
she- see how she-
Because I was going to say it, but go on.
Yeah. But that's exactly what I was going to say, right? I'll be like, she'll ask me how I'm doing, and she may Lisa will send the text and I'll have like 3 questions in it, right? So I'll call myself trying to answer.
She picks one of them.
I'll pick like 1 or 2 of the questions to answer, and Lisa will come right back and be like, you never told me how you're doing.
Right.
Right? But that's community, right? Okay, my best friend Kim knows when I start talking a certain way, all right, what's going on? But that means I know people. I endeavor to know people. So now I can be a bit more comfortable in saying, hey, like, I'm struggling. Or if I'm feeling a certain way, I'll call Lisa and be like, hey, this may be what's going on. I think the other thing is, if you're in true community and relationships with people, you can learn how to not just give. I mean, not just take, but give, right? So even if you're in a place where you're feeling pretty delicate, you can always ask, hey, do you have the bandwidth for this? I've got something heavy I need to share. Do you have the bandwidth for me to lay this? If not, can you help me figure out a plan? Because I got to talk about this. But I don't want you to feel overwhelmed if you've got a lot going on, because everybody has a lot going on.
Right.
When Tracy said what she said, I have friends that when they come to me, I be like, yo, are they being... And that's a real thought. Yeah. Because it seems like it's over and over, So that's why I was glad that you said that, because I'm like, it's natural. You be like, yo, what is going on? Cousin. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure that, because community is not meant to be a one-way street. And I think that's why I really respect Lisa. Like, she's like, all right, this is year 50. We're not doing those anymore. We're not doing that anymore, right? But it's harder than what we think. We say, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore.
But it takes some years, sometimes, or months to practice.
So many of us have been,
we
have been in these cycles. And that's what we're used to doing. And because we're creatures of comfort, we'll go back to that when it gets too hard to try to stick to what we're trying to change to. Right. So, yes, you want to be there for somebody, but I've also learned, like, if I'm really dealing with something heavy, if I'm in the space where I really can care about someone else, which generally I am going to care about somebody else before I care about myself, which is not great.
Always good.
All right. You can care about both. Let's care about both. But I will say to my best friend, hey, I got something going on. Like, do you have the bandwidth right now? And because she loves me, she's going to say yes, because she don't even know what I'm going to say in my mouth.
Right.
But you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then if you set the tone for these relationships that you have, whether they're family, social, friendships, whatever.
Because I can go back with you were saying with Lisa, with the friends, with the phone text message, because she can ask me a question and I might say, okay.
She don't call them after that.
And then I get the phone call.
I'm like, how you doing for real?
That's not an answer.
Right.
And
but
then
it's because I care about y'all.
We get it. And it's like, So
We're trying to get everyone.
And I'm the oldest.
Right. Can I just tell you where it came from? Though, for me, I think it came from the abandonment and rejection. And so I don't ever, and I mean with the capital EVER, want anybody to ever feel the way that I felt. Abandonment and rejection is horrible. And so if I say, and I might for real cry now, but if I say that I care about somebody and I can tell, like I've been trained to read nonverbals, I can't stand texting. It should be like a quick whatever. It's something about hearing somebody's voice or seeing their face. So I might not be able to be in person with you, but if I can hear the tonality of your voice, if I can hear that this, because I learned this when I became a minister. Like, I'm supposed to be in relationship with Jesus Christ. I should hear Jesus or God's voice when he's speaking to me, right? And what I learned is if I call a person enough, I should be able to know, or if they call me, exactly who that person is. I should hear their voice and know, oh, this is such and such, because we had relationship. We spent time together. We've talked. You can't get that from a text message. Now, I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world. No, get quick things. So if sometimes I'm busy and sometimes I can't talk, or sometimes I don't want to talk, but I'm still going to let you know I'm thinking about you. I'm not going to wait, because I've also had people just die generally, just not even because of suicide, that were here today and gone tomorrow, and I didn't take the time to reach out. So if God puts you on my heart, I'm definitely reaching out, but I don't want you to feel abandoned. If you're not answering me, then because I do care, I'm going to call. And if I call, I actually know where all of them live. So if I have to, I would do a pop-up. If it's that serious, especially if I know that you're dealing with suicidal ideation or depression or anxiety, some type of mental health, topic or illness, I just don't want you to feel like you are by yourself. And I want people in my life that are going to rock with me like that too. And if you're not, I now believe you're just not the person for me. Right. You're not supposed, and I'm not even talking about romantically. If I'll ask, I'm like, hey, do you got time to talk? Like, I call Tracy a lot. Now this is my accountability part. I'm dating again or whatever. And I'm just like, look, I need to tell somebody. And I think I've used Ashley too. Might use you too, Danya. And like, let you know, because things are, you're not okay.
We believe and we share.
Right. And I didn't always do that though. My 20s and 30s. Like, I did some stupid stuff, y'all. And I'm not that person now. And I'm a big girl. Y'all can see this, right? So sometimes in my mind, I'm just like, nobody gonna do nothing to me, because they can snatch me up just like they can somebody else, right? I'm still a female. So, change your mindset. And I've had to do so much by myself that I'm just used to doing it by myself. So even when people are like, my neighbor likes me. He's about 5'6" or something like that, right? I don't know if you see. So like, y'all feel I'm now 5'10" and a half. I was 6'1". So I have this thing, sorry about height, and but I don't have no other male to help me. Man, that thing, a case of water, is heavy. So I'm grateful to have a friend or a neighbor that's willing. He knows I'm not interested in him like that or whatever. But just to have somebody there that's looking out for me, I know if nobody else looks out for me in my neighborhood, he does. I don't know if it's just because of his interest in me or not, but it still is nice, a nice feeling to know that somebody is making sure that I'm good. It took him a year to even get the Google Voice number. But I was honest with him about that, because he's literally my next door neighbor. So, we're going to go about that another one. But you have to be careful even in that, right? Yes. But I'm saying, I'm like, I don't know him, but I'm getting to know him. Right. Not interested in a romantic thing, but I'm thankful for just having someone in the community, because I see people, but I don't know them. I go to work and come home.
Some of my sisters are on the line now today, and I'm grateful for you, because we do, WhatsApp. And I have left messages that then they'll stop 15 minutes later and then to be continued. And then I'm crying. And then somebody will come back and somebody's going to pick it up. They'll all respond eventually, but somebody's going to pick that up. Yeah, my cousin, sorority sisters, people are out there. And I say that I'm so grateful, because I have had those dark night of the soul moments where it's compounded grief, losing my father suddenly after falling down the stairs, and the next day he's gone. My brother was murdered. Not even 5 months later, 4 months later, my stepsister, who I grew up with, died in a car accident right after my brother, who was 2 years older than me. So things just keep happening. And then life just compounds and compounds. And then somehow I just say I'm functionally something. Whatever it is, I'm functional. But you start walking around almost like on autopilot, like a zombie, because you're just trying to get tasks done. but when you sit in your feelings,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where 21 days came in, that you start sitting in your feelings.
Man.
And thank you to those of you who have supported this project.
Yes, thank you. We
You know,
appreciate it.
I said I'm gonna get a T-shirt that says "I have questions," because the next person that I bring into my life,
Yes.
and this
Go on
came
to your
about
questions.
from romantic pain, out of romantic relationships, and I thank Lisa for yielding her ear when God gave her this
Project.
vision and this task to do, to pull together these women to meet. And it was just really, I didn't appreciate it as much when I was going through it because it happened so
That was
fast.
me. That's funny. Though. Not on purpose.
But this wasn't anything that was planned.
At
This
all.
was very this is the result of being cathartic. It was like therapy, writing it all down and retracing, how did I end up here in this place, in this space, and how do I keep myself out of that space going forward? What can I learn from this?
You had to own your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You had to own your own stuff.
Be honest.
And be honest with yourself.
And really
That was
sit
hard.
in it and not be distracted.
Easy, right.
By phone calls, texting, that whole thing, without getting into all of it, because most of you here have already supported the book.
Thank you.
But this was just really it was a labor of love, and it was therapeutic. It was therapeutic, and I'm just grateful for the ladies that walked through this process. Again, there are two of us that put it together and authored the book, but there are others
total.
that
one.
did this project.
I was going to say,
I didn't want
she
to
already said that we could talk about it. But Doggett, since you
Yeah.
didn't do, the book part, could you share your experience from what you learned?
So going through it the first time, I went through it with the 4 ladies. We went through the process. Then I went through a tremendous hard situationship. So I've always been the type, I can walk away from anything and just not let it affect me. But this last time, this situation affected me to the point I started losing weight. I started losing who I was. So I didn't write parts of the book because I looked at it, I thought about it, but I go back to it now. I don't think I appreciated it as much as I should have when I was exactly when I went through it the first time. The second time when I was going through that moment, I called Lisa. She said, "You already know I'm dealing with some other stuff, but I'm gonna be there." Call Tracy, ask her. I went through it twice. And I still follow it, and I really wish I had followed it at that time. So when I go back and I look at what that situation put me through, it was compounding of a lot of other things because I was not that person. Danya, you've never been that way. You've never acted this way. So it was so many different things that was on top of it. And I can't say Lisa was hard. She wasn't hard. She was making you be accountable.
That was hard.
Yeah,
it was hard, but it was hard for me. But if I will call BS, won't say the word if I see it. And it's the counselor in me. But I'm doing it in like the way that God ordained this. I'll just say, so 21 days. We realized that they say it's 21 days to break a habit. What we realized is 21 days really to start it. The situation, the growth did not change just because we went through this process. Every morning we got up, we prayed together. We were on video call. I'm not a morning person, but it was 6:30, something like that. It was super early.
6 o'clock.
So I would get up and I would go walking and talk to them. We would pray. We would talk about, there were different things that God would give me. So like, even though I'm not counseling, this is a labor of love from people get paid for the information that you have in here. So like, in my goal or my hope is that you'll take it with your girlfriends and go through the process, because talking to my friends, I realized I wasn't the only one going through stuff. And I think about the main person that caused me to have, to be like, this is it. So much time was wasted, but he wasn't the only one. I wasted my time on so many other people. And so what I was saying earlier about if I'm healthier and I'm making better choices, then maybe I won't do the same thing. So we came up with questions that you could ask in relationships. Like, do you believe in a monogamous relationship? Because Someone just told me, okay, we could just have an open relationship. I don't want an open relationship. I don't even care if I messed up and I've done stuff in my past, and you read my book, you'll find out that I did. Have you been married or are you married? Met somebody else recently. They've been, divorced or separated, for years, decades, but they still married. Well, that's not for me. And I'm like, I'm not going to go out with you knowing that that's the case, because it holds space for me not to get what I want, which is to be in a right. I want my husband, a marriage. You want to say something?
No. It was a learning process, and I always took pride in the fact that if I'm mad at myself, I know where I'm wrong. I have no problem with apologizing. A lot of people are not like that, but Lisa wasn't. She wasn't hard, but she made you own it more. And the feelings. No, that's not a feeling. That's this. That's that, and that's a thought. This that. I'm You're like, different. Look. So I would have a moment. Look, I don't even want to talk to you. I need to talk to Tracy. Look, I'm like, fine. Look, okay, this is
we
how.
Gonna follow back though.
Exactly, she would. But it made you take ownership of where you were. Problem that you caused, because you played a factor in that as well, because the sign 9 times out of 10 the signs are there, but it also helps with so many other relationships at work, relationships with parents, relationships with children, girlfriends, whatever. So it helped a lot. And she's fussed at me again. I am the oldest one sitting at the table, but she fussed at me a lot, but it also made me be honest with myself more. I BS, say, okay, yeah, okay, I know. And the sad part is, even when I'm talking to my therapist, I can finish the thing before she even starts it. Danya, you already know. Sad part is I already know. But it's up to you to make that mindset, change that narrative and stuff like that. So it's on you. And the book is absolutely amazing. So I suggest you do the 21 days.
Yeah, we shout.
I did 42 days
too. Who's not here?
She's watching though.
She's
I did 42 days.
But yeah,
and if you messed up one day, we make you have to start over again.
That's the thing. So. Yeah, they will make you start back over. But when I did it by myself with the two, I got perspective from both of them. Different. Because
Lisa called me and said, make sure, I know you meet with Johnny today while I'm not here, but make sure you stick to I said, I got it.
Because it's just accountable. Real friends keep their friends accountable.
Exactly.
And if we, and it doesn't mean that you don't have space for, like, we have cried together. I know I have cried. I can't talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that. I've cried with each one of these ladies. I've laughed. I have joked. Each one has been a blessing to me in different ways and collective ways. They made sure, just like I said, I've had family things. So I don't have anybody. My parents are dead. My grandparents are dead. I wanted to celebrate 50. I didn't know if I was going to make it. My dad died before he was 50. And so they all made sure that I was able to celebrate my birthday. They didn't have to do that. And I've said that, but I appreciate you, Danya. I appreciate you, Ashley. I appreciate you, Tracy. But it's the little things that, for people who have all that, you may not know. Even the guy that I was dealing with didn't even do nothing. Like, seriously. So it's made me look at, what is wrong with you? That you're accepting this. Mm-hmm. And I'm not accepting that anymore. So, yeah, whoever it is, he's going to have to come correct.
Yep.
Period. With the exclamation point.
So with all of that and the 21 days, and we're talking about relationships, talking about suicide, how do they connect in your eyes?
The first thing that I said is being healthy going into it. The chances are, if your picker is right, I do believe the Bible says, man that finds a wife finds a good thing, right? But if I have a relationship with God first, and he's telling me, whatever it is, because he does give us choice, you know what I mean? If my relationship is where it needs to be with God, and I'm listening to him, he'll let me know if Joe is the right man for me. I don't know who Joe is, y'all. I'm just using the name, right? But that'd be funny if Joe was the husband. Anyway, but whoever, right? Bob or Billy or Tim, whoever you are, they'll let me know. I'm just saying. I just want one. I'm just saying. I just want to make sure that y'all know that it doesn't matter. It does matter, but it doesn't matter. So I think that if I know my relationship is right first, I'm going to hear God, because he speaks to his people. And so oftentimes, because I've also counseled married, I've counseled parents, I've counseled people who've gone through divorce. I know that's not me because I'm not any of those things. I don't have children. I've never been married. I've never been divorced, clearly. But I've counseled from elementary, well, even daycare, because I used to be a daycare provider, up to elderly. And so I've learned and I've listened. 20 years of experience has taught me a lot. I don't feel like you have to go through it personally to be able to help other people. And I know that it's worked because I've seen the fruit. So I understand some people say, you got to study first. I did study. I have my master's degree in counseling. Like, I'm not dumb, but I'm just not, it's not personal experience. But I can listen to whatever you've gone through and I can learn from it. And I take the things that I've studied and I've combined it. And I think a lot of people get into stuff because they're lonely. They don't want, I don't want to be, lonely, single either. Not no more, not at 50. But instead of, I don't want to be in the mess that I was in either. So I take the time to love Lisa, like, for real. Like, there's things about me that I don't like, but there's a whole lot of things that I do like. And if you want to come, I got stretch marks. I got bumps on my legs from scratching because of dry skin, because of diabetes. Like, I'm putting it all out there. If you love me, you gonna love me with all that. That's right. I'm still cute, even with adult acne. Yep, I said it. So, like, I understand my flaws. Do you know yours?
Exactly.
And are you embracing those things?
Exactly.
Because how is somebody else gonna love you if you don't even love yourself?
And that's one of the reasons why I am intentionally single right now, because I realized that I was very dependent on being affirmed by the person that I was in the relationship with, whatever relationship, whatever we want to define that as. And I was very dependent on that. And so we had to go back to the whole self-love piece after years and a lot of money spent on coaching. I've put a lot of money into coaching, and it was a blessing to me. And I fought and resisted and fought, but it really boiled down to me loving myself and all of myself wherever I am at the moment. So that's why I'm intentionally single right now. And when I feel that God says, okay, you're ready, and you're at the place where you are loving yourself the way that I intended for you to love yourself. And for me to be, and that's my prayer, God, please allow me to see me the way that you see me. What did you intend for me? Who did you intend for me to be when you created me? And so that's where I am now. So, I desire to be loved by someone wonderful because I'm someone wonderful.
Come on.
You are. Yeah. And so I really, I've given a lot of love to people who have just, what do they say? Casting pearls to swine. And I've done that, and now I'm through. I'm through with that. So now I'm just investing that time in me and going to therapy and talking to my sister circles. And I have a bunch of little micro circles of people who love on me and that I love on them back. And I'm just very grateful for that prayer and the support that I've received. So
and that's with any relationship. Everything that you said, that is with any relationship. You have to love yourself, respect yourself. Because people see you the way you see yourself. So that's right. It. They're going to treat you the way you allow them to treat you. So that's for any and every relationship.
Can I just read this one, for just the first paragraph? So it was a blog that I wrote a long time ago, and so I decided to put in the book. It says, proceed with caution. Maintenance is necessary. And so I said, while writing this book, I began to realize that most of my relationships, friendships included, were lopsided. I began to see that I was treated badly or used in many of my relationships, familial, platonic friendships, and romantic relationships. There was little to no maintenance, and maintenance was definitely necessary. And so I continue about having self-checks and things like that. I think the more we pour into us and knowing who we are, we won't maybe get into relationships that break us down, with the people that are abusive, the people that, don't see our value and our worth. We have to know what that is too. And I didn't always feel worth it. Being not the average size female and, just different things in my life made me just question myself and my existence. And I think the more I love me, the more I'm not allowing people, whether that's family or friends or romantic relationships, to break me down. And I know you can't treat me that way.
Exactly.
I know what I want. I don't know where it changed, but I remember support means the world to me. They know, right? But at some point I got to a place where whoever I was dating, it was okay, if they never come to a show, no, that's not okay with me. because this is something I'm doing for the rest of my life. You may not be a mental health advocate, but if you're not supporting me when I'm doing it, that says something. You don't ever come to a concert and it's free, even if you got to pay. Like, are you willing to you can't download one song, when you already have Apple or Spotify or Amazon, you're not even paying anything extra. All those little things for me matters. And I would just allow myself to be, Tracy pointed out one of the questions about, like, do you believe in therapy? How can I be a counselor and I'm dating somebody who doesn't believe that they should go? Like, maintenance, that's another tool that you can use for your relationships, going to therapy, because you don't see everything when you're in the situation. So I think for me, I guess where it intersects is knowing who you are so that you don't end up down the path with someone that causes you the brokenness that you feel. You know what I mean? Like, every relationship where I felt broken, a lot of times it was because of some things that I allowed.
Exactly.
They cheated on me. I allowed it because I went back.
Exactly.
Or they, used me or talked about me. Or I remember one guy, he was just like, I mean, you cute or whatever, but you're not no model. I wasn't trying to be a model, but people have actually asked me to model because of my height, and just letting him get into my head. Like, I'm not wasting time on cutting stuff off sooner. It's sometimes not soon enough because it's a process, but I'm happy about the person I'm becoming, even with all my flaws. And what I've shared, even as you read the book, is that God already knew I was going to do what I did. All the sin, all the stuff that I did, he already knew and loved me anyway, and knew that I know I have a purpose. I know that I've touched people's lives. You don't even have to tell me, but you do. And I'm appreciative, because that's encouraging to me.
Exactly.
To not stop. So for me, that's where it combines.
But someone else that's not in touch with their mental aspect and you are, it can be draining. It can really drain you. It can take a lot out of you as well mentally, even if you're not dealing with anything mentally. And if they're not, you can only push a person so much. They have to want, especially adults. Children, I blame it on, I get it on the parents. Adults, you need the help. Get the help. It's okay. And I'm not saying this, and it might almost sound like I'm contradicting myself about people coming to you and say, okay, I need help or whatever. But sometimes if I keep telling you, okay, look, I got you. We can do this. You can do this. You can do that. But you keep doing the same thing. It's like you really don't want the help. So sometimes somebody else's mental part can also destroy you, can hurt you. Because then sometimes being a mental health advocate, and I can say this, you can have family members and you're trying to help and it doesn't seem like it's helping. So you say, okay, am I doing the right thing? So it eats at you as well. That part plays a role in everything. So a lot of us, we really need to take aim, take focus at what we're doing and get the help.
You can love from afar, though.
Yeah, you can.
Like, sometimes you can't be
everything to everybody.
Right. And so there are some people, I don't agree, as you all know, that someone say I'm protecting my peace, so that's why they're not dealing with it. But if you've dealt with the conflict, and then you're saying, but you can't protect your peace if you've never dealt with the conflict. Exactly. You have to be willing to have a conversation. And that might say, I've shared with all my friends, have you thought about therapy? Sounds to me like you might need to see a counselor, because it's not my job. Even though I was that's not my job to counsel my friends. We're not supposed to do that ethically. So it's okay to do it from afar. And if they're not willing, look, I'm willing to be here, but you need to get some help. And if they're not willing to get some help, then I might not be able to be there.
It's only but so much you can do, because it's still, I have to maintain where I'm at this point too. And it goes to, sometimes you got to meet people where they are. If I have to love you from afar, I have to love you from afar.
And I will say, and I know we're coming up on time. As the married person here, the work doesn't stop. I think a lot of people think, okay, once I get married, no. Okay. What they say, new levels, no devils. I don't have a church up in here. I want y'all to know the work doesn't stop. And so I would agree that if you don't conquer self-love while you're single, it will just continue to manifest. And I would even say produce some bigger struggles once you get married, because now you're dealing with two people. And that's why, what they were saying about, knowing what your partner's personal kind of view on life and mental health and physical health, all those things matter because somebody's going to have to be responsible for it. Mm-hmm. And it's either going to be them or it's going to be you. And if you have to take on the burden of both of you all's, I don't think that that's necessarily what a lot of us have in mind. We can share each other's burdens, but I can't carry you. And even I love my husband to death, but he can't love Ashley for Ashley. Mm-hmm. And so I'm still on the path to loving Ashley. Mm-hmm. And so I just say to you all, I appreciate that you're trying to get that down now, but it's a journey. It's not going to stop. Yeah. It's not going to stop once you get married. We're coming up on toward the end of this wonderful conversation, and I think that it's been great. It's been beautiful.
Did you want to say anything? Like that?
Oh, I'm like,
no. Well, definitely that. But I mean, comments. If people say any comments,
we just had a few.
Definitely talk about your work.
Tisha Irby just said, "Good evening, ladies. Thank you for tackling a tough and sometimes painful part of mental health." Kendra Johnson, I'm sorry, said that caregivers need support. And then she also said, now that's a word. I'm not sure which part was a word. A word was said. Did not our hearts burn? And so we want to keep the conversation going. So this particular conversation is coming to an end, but that doesn't mean that the conversation stops. And so you're dying. Lisa and Tracy. Wow, I have parent brain already.
It's okay. It's okay.
Everybody else's name. You know, parents. You have multiple kids. You be like, John, Susie.
Right?
You know who you're talking about. No, I don't. Lisa and Tracy authored 21 Days, which is about romantic relationships. I have authored 2 children's books, one of which is sort of autobiographical. I'm the mother, bonus mom to a 12-year-old, and when my husband and I started dating and we got married, I had to develop a relationship not just with my husband but also with my son, and so Two Best Buds for Romel kind of walks through that process and explains to children that when you have these new opportunities for relationships, it may not always feel great, right? Especially when you start getting into truly integrating yourselves into one another's worlds, and things change and priorities change, and that's okay. And so if you want to check it out by Ashley Burton Lockley, it's called Two Best Buds for Romel. That's all I wanted to say about that.
All right, so the call to action. So
yeah.
So you had different resources. Did you want to?
So I'm going to put up some resources on the screen. It's going to kind of partially block us, but I did have some resources that are up on the screen, and you now can't see me or Lisa. Our resources are beautiful Vanna White. Just smile. Just smile away.
So y'all should point to the screen, Danya and Tracy,
yes,
so they can
beautiful.
See. Yes.
So there are resources that you can utilize if you know someone who is experiencing mental anguish and or suicidal ideation. There's 988, which is the National Crisis Hotline. I don't think they're still using 1-800-273-TALK. It's now 988. I'm sorry. But if you go to NAMI.org, there are some other resources. You can text the word HOME to 741-741. You can also go to the Suicidology website. They have crisis resources on there that are really great, and they're national and on the state and local levels. I would also say NAMI has set up something like, I know specifically for iPhones, if you say, hey Siri, I'm feeling depressed, Siri will take you to NAMI.org and will take you to the resources that you need. I'm pretty sure you can do it on Android.
Probably. I haven't even tried.
I ain't tried it.
But NAMI does have
just
a
talking
lot.
about my Android self.
I'm sorry. NAMI has a lot of amazing support groups, and I'm actually the facilitator for TAY, which is transitional age youth, which is 16 to 26, and support groups. But check out NAMI.org. We have a lot of amazing support groups, and we're in all 50 states.
I met Dan Ellison the other day. Yeah, he's the CEO of NAMI. Great guy. And then we have some main takeaways that we want you guys to remember. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So if you all do that, you visit one of the resources, you let us know. You can actually email me at One Singing Lady, or actually if you go to my website, lisalgilliam.com, I will make sure within the next 48 hours, if you check out one of those resources, then I will give you a free track from one of my CDs. I have songs or poems that I've written about suicide. So there'll probably be no more thoughts of suicide, just to encourage you. It shares my testimony about what I was, it was written, years ago. Thank goodness I'm not in that state. But you'll receive that track for free. We want to make sure that you all are not just listening to this today and not willing to do something else. But if you do that and you sign up within the next 24 hours, you'll get the free track as well. So lisalgilliam.com, okay?
lisalgilliam.com. Okay. Sorry. Now we have main takeaways. Yes. 1, relationships matter.
Absolutely.
All relationships matter. I don't want to sound... Okay, never mind. Practice resolving conflict. Yes. Lisa said earlier that you can't say that you're protecting your peace when you're using that protecting your peace as a way to avoid conflict. Conflict is inevitable. It is a part of every relationship, every type of friendship. And so you have to learn how to be able to resolve conflict, or at the very least, get to a point where you can discuss. Communication. Are we clear about that? just communication. Just communication.
Just open your mouth and do it.
Receive it. Yes. All right. People are not mind readers, but also understand that communication is more than just the words you say.
Yes.
And so when you are seeming a certain way, looking a certain way, people are taking those things as well. And so just understand that. And finally, community is important. I am so grateful for these 3 young ladies who are sitting up here with me. And I think it's been time well spent. Deborah Reed said, wonderful and very important discussion. Great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Really appreciate it. We're going to go around and let everyone have their last say. And while people are doing that, I'm going to put their contact information up on the screen. So if you want to be in touch with anybody, go ahead and take note of that as we do it. Don, you want to start us off?
Again, my name is Donya Parker, president and co-founder of the Rock for Life Foundation. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. We do a lot of stuff within the community. I actually go out and speak. I tell my story about my depression and everything that I've gone through. And I also tell my family story in regards to losing my brother to suicide. My cell phone number is 240-719-1644.
Yes,
thank you.
And I love the Rock for Life Foundation and the work that they're doing.
Thank you.
And Donya doesn't get to lose me. I actually share a birthday with her late brother, July 29th. So thank you, Donya, for that. My name is Ashley Lockley. You can find me at Mastering Mind Matters on Facebook and Instagram. You can also find me at Ash Lockley, or you can visit my website at masteringmindmattersnow.org.
And I am Lisa Gilliam, or Lisa L. Gilliam, otherwise known as One Singing Lady, because I sing. And so you can find my music on Amazon, Apple, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube. You can also find me on TikTok, X, I guess is now Twitter, and Facebook and Instagram at One Singing Lady, and that's the number 1. YouTube is spelled out ONESINGINGLADY. And I hope that you all will remain connected. I hope so. At 50, I should be able to.
Listen, all the INGs.
One day I did forget that.
And thank you so much again, everyone, for joining us. Again, I'm Tracy Worley. My website is by Tracy M, BYTRACYM.com. I'm also on Instagram, and you can find me by looking up I Am Tracy Monique. And check out my book. We would love that if you
Look
check
all
out 21 Days, if you get an opportunity to check it out. And don't forget to ask questions.
Yes.
And we are the Stigma Breakers.
Yes, collective we are.
We did it.
Thanks so much, you
Thank
all.
you.
Have a good one.
Have a great one, and we will look out for more from us. We're going to get ourselves together.
Yes, this is the year. We're going to do it.
It's going to happen.
Coming up.
We're gonna live to see it happen. That's what the song says.
Yes.
All right. So look out for more from the Stigma Breakers Collective. We love you guys, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.